Steve in Williston, North Dakota, wants to talk about Republicans and Menendez. Menendez is a Democrat. What's up, Steve?
Hey, Tom. I just want to let you know I am a product of a divorce, and after my parents got divorced, I didn't speak to my dad for many years. We've since reconciled, but anyway,
well, I think we can all agree that having people married is better than, generally speaking, than having people go through divorce. But that said, when you look at both the psychological outcomes and the economic outcomes, they're not that different. Kids of single parents are typically do as well in life as kids of married couples. Oddly enough,
I don't know, man.
It seems counterintuitive.
When my parents divorced, Tom, I spiraled out of control, and for at least 10 years until I was about 28, I was on drugs. I did crazy stuff.
Well, that's a tough one, and I'm not disagreeing with you that divorce is a tragedy and a painful experience, and it's a trauma. Divorce is a trauma, particularly for the kids. I agree with you. We don't want it to happen. So is the solution, this Republican solution, to say you may not leave your husband or your wife? I mean, would you prefer, if your parents, instead of getting divorced, would you prefer that the police checked the house once a day to make sure that they were still sleeping in the same bedroom?
No, I'm just saying.
So what's the solution?
Didn't they leave conditions that you can leave? Like a guy or his wife is gone for a year. They're pretty much divorced. I mean, they didn't say you absolutely have to stay married.
No, he said if the couple has been apart for more than 2 years, or if one partner is missing for more than a year. Missing has a very specific meaning, as in vanished, not just not there. But if they're not living together for 2 years, but during those 2 years, for example, let's say that the husband is the breadwinner, and he's the one filing the income taxes. During those 2 years, the wife has no control over her own economic world. She can't get credit cards in her own name. She can't change her name. She can't file for income tax refunds. He can take. That's a total disaster, it seems. Or vice versa, for that matter. If the woman was the breadwinner, the husband would be in a position where if he got a job, he couldn't even file his own income tax return.
Right, but it comes down to it's not a Republican or Democrat. It's just an old man who's worried about his granddaughter. I mean,
well, I think at the end of the day, you're right, and I think he's going about this in a really, really dumb way. But I think what it illustrates is that Republicans love big government when it has to do with female body parts, smokable substances, the behavior of people in their bedrooms, the behavior of people in a bedroom being shown on television or on video. When it has to do with the so-called moral issues, Republicans, when it has to do with whether or not children are going to say a prayer in school, when it has to do with whether or not the interests of the oil companies and the Koch brothers in continuing to pollute the atmosphere with carbon dioxide, whether and how that is discussed in our schools, when it comes to whether or not creationism or science is taught in our schools. Republicans love big government in all those regards, and yet they run around saying that they're party of little government. It doesn't make any sense to me.
That's not true. Republicans don't love big governments on selective issues. I asked my boy the other day whether or not his teacher talked about God, because we got an Obama pamphlet that he brought home, and I was like, dude, I was in kindergarten once, and I never knew who the president was or ever got pamphlets. And I said, well, does your teacher talk about God? And he said, no, she doesn't talk about that. She says that's an issue for home.
Sure. Well, it is, isn't it? Do you really want your kids? What grade is your kid in?
He's a kindergartner.
Okay, and if his teacher was a member of the Church of Satan, do you really want her preaching to him?
Absolutely not.
Okay, then you don't want religion discussed in schools, do you? Unless it's your religion.
No, I don't care what religion it is, but at least acknowledge that religion is.
Well, if you're going to acknowledge God, you got to acknowledge Satan. I mean, go back and read the book of Job. or Genesis, for that matter. I mean, it's the whole thing started with Satan and the snake saying, "Here, eat this apple," right? So do you want Satan taught to your kindergartner by your public school teacher?
Satan can be taught by myself and my wife and the teacher. I mean, she's teaching them about everything else.
But what if she thinks Satan's kind of cool?
Well, then, I mean, that's something I would have to
then you got a problem with it. This is why we keep religion out of schools, because we all collectively pay for schools, and some of us believe in a Christian God, some of us believe in a Jewish God, or a Hindu God, or a Muslim God, or multiple gods, or no God at all, and we all pay taxes for the schools. And so let's just keep it out of the schools.
Tom, but why can't we also eliminate evolution out of schools? I mean, that's not a proven theory, is it?
It is. It is very well proven theory. There is no dispute about evolution, Steve. This whole creationism thing is it's sweet. I mean, it's a nice way to try and convince children, I suppose, that one particular interpretation of their Genesis story, which, by the way, only came out of the 19th century, the 1900s, the 1800s, excuse me, the 19th century. That 6,000-year-old Earth theory is less than 150 years old.
I don't care about how old the Earth is. That isn't relevant to my daily, which I work in the oil field, by the way, and it's beautiful up in here in North Dakota. It is not polluted at all. Tons of oil out here.
Yeah.
And it's great for our economy. I mean, we don't feel this sequestered at all. But anyways,
yeah, but I'll bet you that the people who live in Cancer Alley down in Texas, downwind from the refinery where that oil is ending up, don't quite see it as whose air is polluted with all these poisons. Might disagree with you. And B, I'm just curious, Steve, when do you think, you got oil coming out of the ground? You can put a drop of oil on your hand and you look at it. How old do you think that oil is? Where'd they come from?
Well, it came from the waste materials in prehistoric times.
Yeah, it's dead fossils. I mean, it's dead animal or plant matter. It's typically plant matter, mostly plant matter. And it's at least 300 million years old. So you don't want...
You base it on carbon dating, right? You basing that on carbon dating? How do we know that's accurate? I mean, really.
Okay.
I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just saying, how do we know that's accurate?
Because there is an entire profession of people who've dedicated their lives to, they're called geologists, to understanding how time interacts with planet Earth, and they've kind of figured this out. They've come up with these eons and these eras, and the Jurassic and the Thoracic, or what? That's the part of the spine, and the Permian, and the and on and on and on. I mean, these guys have figured this stuff out. This is not in dispute, Steve.
Right, I agree. We kind of lost track there. Anyways, why are you talking about this guy from Iowa, but you don't talk about what's his name, Ken Salazar from New Jersey?
Ken Salazar. You're talking about Robert Menendez.
In a major scandal. Robert Menendez.
Yeah. It turns out that when Tucker Carlson on his blog, The Daily Caller, published this story that slandered Bob Menendez, who's a good Democratic senator, claiming that he was patronizing a hooker down in the Dominican Republic, that either this woman has now gone on the record and said that she was paid to lie, and then there's the FBI went down and did an investigation on this, and it just came back. I don't know if you've read today's paper, but it sure looks like Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity and all the guys that ran with this as if it was a news story, that they've been perpetuating a lie. And the question is, who set up this lie, and why? Because Menendez is up for re-election in 2 years.
Traveling down there, how do we know she isn't paid to lie that she lied?
Well, I suppose it's not inconceivable, but why would it have even gotten into the press? Who leaked this into the press? Tucker Carlson isn't talking.
Well, maybe somebody was interested for him to lose his seat.
I think so.
Like they do with
I think so. I think this is Republican dirty tricks, just like when Jack Kennedy was president and there were Republicans peddling the idea that he was sleeping around. Turns out he was.
Yeah, I heard about Mimi. Mimi, what's her name, Beardsley.
Yeah, I don't know the names, but the fact of the matter is that it happens. But apparently it didn't happen with Menendez in this case. But again, why? Here's what I don't understand, Steve, is I'm having this conversation with this right-wing talk show host who is saying we should ban divorce. And somehow this has become a Republican issue. I don't see what's partisan about this. Why would Republicans...
I'm for
Go ahead.
Not banning divorce, but let's make it as hard as we possibly can.
Why?
Why not do that? What's wrong with that, really?
Well, because when a relationship is dead, I think that it's in the best interests of both the parents and the kids for the parents to move on and find somebody that they can have a good relationship with and raise their kids in a new loving family. There are a lot of families in America where the parents are on their second family. And they're doing just fine, thank you very much. And making divorce hard or close to impossible would, cause, I think, a lot of misery. Steve, thanks for the call and thanks for the interesting conversation. 45 minutes past the hour.